عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم أخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم إلى نور الفهم وأكرمنا بمعرفة العلم وزين أخلاقنا بالحلم يا أرحم الراحمين. Oh Allah, we call upon you, pray to you, beseech you. We ask you to facilitate our affairs, to guide us, to make us steadfast upon Iman, to bless us and to bless our families and our children and our community. Ya Allah, bless this space and make it a space of activism and goodness and community and ihsan. Ya Allah, we ask you to guide us to the actions that bring us closer to you. Ya Allah, and we ask you to push away from us all fitan and trials, anything that deters us away from your pleasure. Ya Rabbil Alameen, Ameen, Ameen. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Jazakumullah khair for coming today to the Friday Forum. We have a special subject. We're at the end of our summer. We got one official week left before the summer vacation's over and before anyone going to school goes back to school. Perhaps those in college are already getting started with that. But we pray that Allah makes it a blessed year for the parents, for the kids, and for every single one of us. Allahumma ameen. Before we get into the subject, there are a bunch of announcements to make. We have in this coming week a very important thing that we want everyone to attend. It's next Thursday, August 28th. At the Clifton City Council. We have our next planning board meeting. We've been through 3 planning board meetings so far, and the testimonies from the masjid's team for the expansion of this facility are almost done. We just have one testimony left from the president of the masjid, and we're expecting a decision soon, maybe in this session or the session after that. And we pray to Allah Azza wa Jal to facilitate for our community the expansion of this masjid. It's something absolutely needed. Our community is growing very rapidly, and we hope that this space could become 3 times the size. And we're praying that this entire community here, this neighborhood in its entirety, can be filled with Muslim families, inshaAllah. Ya Rab, Ya Rab. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make that our reality. So please, come next Thursday, again, August 28th, to Clifton City Council. The set time is 6:30 p.m., but if you could come earlier, just to make sure that you get inside, this would be good, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. This will affect our community here for many years to come. Jazakumullah khair. That's the first announcement. There's a lot of other announcements. We have our September programming around the corner. A lot of things going to happen in September, inshaAllah. One of them is our schools are going to be back in session in the masjid, the Hafidh program and the general program. And the official start date is September 6th. The registration is going to launch in the next few days. And for the Hafidh program, it's going to be at both masjids, inshaAllah. And you're going to get all the details with the registration when it goes out. And we call all parents to register your kids, make sure they stay connected with the masjid. Besides our schools, we have our courses coming back. And alhamdulillah, in our community, ICPC, we have a lot of opportunities to learn. So we have our courses starting in this masjid. It's Sundays and Tuesdays. It's going to start September 7 and September 9. And inshallah, we're going to put out the information what the courses are. And with Sheikh Ismail, it's going to start September 8 and September 10, right? Mondays and Wednesdays in Masjid Yunus. And of course, the Friday Forum is continuing and ongoing. And we have a lot of other things. You're going to find all of that announced in the coming week and the week after. We also have, and this is the last announcement I'll make, we have a world-renowned scholar. He's going to be visiting our community. His name is Dr. Akram Nadwi. He's from Britain, and he's going to visit our community on September 3rd. We're going to have a special event for him in ICPC Patterson. It's going to be Wednesday, September 3rd at 8 p.m., yani after Salat al-Maghrib. If you don't know anything about the Sheikh, then one thing I would say is he wrote this massive series on female hadith scholars. It's actually 43 volumes in Arabic. And he's an ocean of knowledge, mashallah. So come join us for that lecture, inshallah. He's going to talk about the history of female hadith scholarship, inshallah. And all are welcome, inshallah. So September 3rd in ICPC Patterson. That's it for the announcements, and I guess we could transition. And I guess we're gonna transition lightly into the conversation as to why we chose to speak about advice for the new school year. For starters, Sheikh, our summers at ICPC usually end with the summer camps. And this past week, I visited the girls' youth camp, and it's always a very unique experience. I have a lot of reflections to share. I guess that inspired me to give the khutbah today, and also for this talk, some of the information. But I guess before I share any of that, I don't know if you have any opening reflections to share. How are you feeling? What's on your mind?
Jazakallah khair. First of all, I'm happy to be here. As I always say, it's a blessed opportunity to be in the masjid on a Friday night. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us steadfast. Always very happy to have a conversation on the upcoming school year and some pieces of advice that we can benefit from, all of us, inshallah. Yeah, Friday is a really beautiful day, Sheikh Osamah. I love Friday a lot. It's a blessed day because Salat al-Jum'ah and the khutbah of Jum'ah, the remembrance of Allah on the minbar of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And today was a really nice day outside. Summer's coming to an end. Maghrib is creeping up. Getting a little sad, I'm not gonna lie. I'm thinking about the upcoming school year. It's gonna get gloomy again, the weather. But today, after Jum'ah, I visited 2 patients in 2 separate hospitals. So this is what's on my mind and in my heart right now. Specifically, I went to a patient in Chilton Hospital in Pompton Lakes, I think it's called, on the other side of Route 23, and it was an Albanian sister, and she's an older sister, and she has cancer, so she's suffering from that, and they requested a visitation from an imam, so I went in, and the family was there, the husband, the son, and the daughter. They were very, very thankful for the visit, and I don't know what to tell you other than I'm very thankful for my health, and I think every time someone goes to the hospital or he sees someone sick, they just feel immense gratitude. Because we could complain about certain things in life, and then you go to visit someone that is suffering for real, and you just feel very grateful and thankful. I was thinking to myself, alhamdulillah for health, alhamdulillah I'm able to walk into the hospital, it's a beautiful day, drive a car, sit with the family. And then I thought I had a personal reflection, honestly. Because we gave some imani kalam, some uplifting words to the family, and then we made some dua for the sister and for Gaza, and then I read some Quran. But I asked the brother, would you like me to read some Quran, the older father? And he said, no. And then he didn't understand me, so the son told him in his language, and he goes, no, please read Quran, please. He jumped up, please read Quran, we love that. He goes, I thought you asked me if I could read Quran. He said, I can't. So it reminded me of the bounty of being able to read the Quran. So perhaps we are heedless of this. If you're able to read the Quran, this is a huge blessing. To read the Quran in Arabic, and so many people struggle to do that. So I remembered myself not being able to read Quran, and now I can read Quran. I was very happy for that. It's a blessing. The Quran is the greatest blessing in the world. If you're gifted the Quran, you're gifted good. You're gifted the word of Allah living with you. So after that visitation, I went to St. Joseph's in Patterson to visit another patient who was in a severe accident this past week. And he's slowly recovering. He's doing a lot better, alhamdulillah. And he's on dialysis. And his kidneys are giving him problems, so I was thinking of the immense bounty and blessing of health again. And alhamdulillah for everything. I don't know what to say other than alhamdulillah for being able to go to the bathroom. Alhamdulillah الذي أذهب عنا الأذى وعافانا. اللهم اجعلنا من التوابين واجعلنا من المتطهرين. The dua of exiting the bathroom is so beautiful and powerful. Allah, the Prophet, he said, say when you exit the bathroom, all praise is due to you, O Allah. الذي أذهب عنا الأذى, the one who removed from us these toxins, anything harmful, wallahi, وعافانا, and he gave us siha and afia. And he was explaining to me, the patient was explaining to me why he's on dialysis, and he said there's toxins that need to be taken out. And I was saying, subhanallah, man. Imagine not being able to use the bathroom. Subhanallah. May Allah. Yeah.
Allah yafrijha alayhum. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give them both shifa and afia and heal everyone who's going through illness or going through difficulties and trials. Shaykh, subhanAllah, as you were talking, the way I started my khutbah today is actually very relevant to what you were sharing right now. That what I started the khutbah with today was how each and every moment, milestone, situation in our lives has a unique responsibility in terms of ibadah. That's why our righteous predecessors, there's a statement that says, Al-Arif ibn waqtihi. Someone who truly knows Allah, someone who's truly spiritually attuned to his soul, is aware of what's needed in the present moment. So the ibadah in good health is not like the ibadah in illness. The ibadah as a son or daughter is not like the ibadah as a parent. The ibadah in young age is not like the ibadah in old age. And we learned this. There's many hadiths that teach us this. Even how our state of mind and our outlook on life should change when we reach a certain age. The age of 60, as the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ notes, is a time where the Muslim should prepare to transition and return back to Allah, right? So good health, illness, ease, hardship, being youthful, and all these, they have different responsibilities. Even the seasons, by the way. The ibadah of the summer is not like the ibadah of the winter, and what we mean by that is there are certain signs in Allah's creation that manifest, certain reminders that come our way. Now you mentioned the winter. Our righteous predecessors would love the winter. Why do you think they'd love the winter? Why do you think they would love the winter? Something that, may Allah forgive us. We're weak. May Allah better us.
All about perspective, Sheikh. Wallahi.
It's all about perspective.
Different level. Wallahi. All about perspective. Wallahi.
Yeah. Why do you think they would love the winter? Who knows? Why? Yes.
Yeah.
Lish.
Yeah.
Longer the night. Why? Longer night means what? More intimate time with Allah Azza wa Jal, right? Subhanallah. And then you have the ibadah of the summer, which lets you, travel and traverse this land and see Allah's signs so apparent. Now anyone still going to school is going to transition to a new reality. And I think it's always powerful how our summers in the masjid, they end with the youth camp. And Sheikh, I think you have years of experience with the masjid's youth camp.
Absolutely.
I personally, what I saw, touched my heart. When I saw, many of our young daughters come to me after the lecture, sharing their own personal struggles, some of them in tears, not knowing how to figure out some of the challenges that they're going through. And may Allah reward the counselors and everyone that was there with them for the full time to give them advice. But it showed me how critical it is to have this connection that's going to continue to allow us to grow as the school year comes in. Whether you go to school or not, to be honest with you, we all get very busy. The summer is very different than the rest of the year. Our day-to-day, our schedules and our routines. Those are some initial reflections as we enter into the subject of advice for the school year. And I don't know, Sheikh, from your experiences with camp, but for me, it gave me certain perspectives on what young people need as they're about to get so much busier with the school year coming in. What do you think, Sheikh?
I first want to say, Sheikh Osamah, I love the point you made, saying the person should know what's going on in his timing, and every timing has a specific thing to take care of. The young person is not like the old person, and the person in school is not like the person on break, and winter is not the summer. This is beautiful, because this is all what wisdom is, knowing what's incumbent upon you at that timing. So Sheikh Osamah also mentioned this beautiful point of the youth camp, or of us with ICPC ending with the youth camp and then going into school. And he was speaking about his experiences in the girls' youth camp. And I have 2 or 3 friends that had their daughters go to the youth camp for the first time. And they've been in a different mood in the past 2-3 days. They're super happy. And they're happy because their daughters are happy. And and it was the first time that they sent their daughters to the youth camp. And they're overfilled with joy, and they're saying it was great, and I'm going to send my daughter every year. I don't care how much it is. It was worth it. They made all these friends, and they prayed together, and they won't stop talking about it, and they were able to have fun in ways that the girl usually can't have fun in these ways because of the hijab and everything. They're very happy. They're very happy. So I want to say the youth boys camp, girls camp, it ends off. It's like a beautiful ending to the summer, and it's like a little iman recharger boost that you're getting before you enter the school year, which is going to be uppercut, jab, and getting punched all over the place. It's just like the school year enters and Maghrib starts creeping up more, gloomy days. Honestly, gloomy days, colder days. The nice summer goes away, entering the realm of school. And the school is peer pressure, and the school is fitna, and the school is bullying, and the school is social anxiety, and the school is social interactions, and wanting
peer pressure.
Peer pressure, 100 times peer pressure. So this little injection that you give yourself with the ICPC Youth Camp is to keep you strong to go into the school year. And you receive something from the camp and you receive friends, you make Islamic friends. And this is the most important thing. And if you have an Islamic friend in school, this is a blessing from God. You say, thank you, Allah. A good pious friend in school, because if everyone's going left lane, you need someone to take you to the right lane. Right lane is Jannah and piety. Left lane is we don't want to go down the left lane, you know? And this is difficult. But this ICPC Youth Camp with the talks and the lectures, praying in Jama'ah, when many times kids don't, you know, kids probably they have shortcomings in their prayer. It's a great iman recharge and boost to take you to the school year. So you could remember that always. And all the kids always say to me all the time, I miss camp. I can't wait for camp to come back. School is not the same. It's not the same. We miss camp. So this is my reflections on the camp. I think it's great. I think it's great because of all the greatness it comes with. The prayer in congregation, the being able to have fun without being in haram. Like teaching yourself an important concept, and that's that you could have fun in halal. And I think it's a very important point I would like people to understand. You could have fun and be a Muslim. Because people have misunderstanding. Their perspective is incorrect. They think the Muslim is boring. Muslim is Quran. Muslim is masjid, and that's boring. That's like, you know, I'm forced to read Quran, I don't know what it means. No, really. No, being a Muslim is fun. Being a Muslim is fun. Going to the youth camp and being pious and Muslim is fun. Like enjoy the وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيا. Don't forget to have some fun in dunya. Sorry. Don't forget to have fun. Don't forget your portion of like this world. As Allah mentions in the Quran, and that's because if you are very strict on yourself, this is a point that I like to make. If you're very strict on yourself and you make what is halal haram on yourself, you flip upside down. Right, Sheikh? I have many examples of people I know in my life that were very strict and rigid. They don't know how to have fun. And when I say have fun, I mean Islamic fun. Playing soccer, playing basketball. This is very good for a young person. Having friends that do that, you know, without forgetting deen. You know, you could be a Muslim and have fun. You could go be a Muslim and swim. You could be a Muslim and love like certain types of foods and going out to eat with your friends. Like this halal. As long as this is halal, have fun. And don't be strict and rigid on yourself, because I've never seen someone strict and rigid except he fell opposite on backside of his head. You know?
SubhanAllah, Shaykh. Jazakallah khair. You know, I think for me, like, why does this interaction that they have for those 5 days end up being so powerful? And I think that part of it is our lifestyles. You know, I think one of the biggest challenges that we face as Muslims who live in 2025, or people who live in 2025, is with all the gadgets that are there, they lead to a very isolated lifestyle. And isolation is the name of most of the destructive things that manifest in our lives. It's the beginning. It's the beginning. You know, Allah, you know, brothers and sisters, you know, isolation is the beginning of the story of people who get hooked on drugs, get caught up with bad friends, get into haram relationships, make very, very bad choices. And you know, I think that we're in an age where people are fleeing interacting with other human beings. And it's not natural, by the way. It's not natural. You know, we need the human interaction. Allah created us that way. You know, so I need people in my life. You know, and I think that if I'm going to be able to navigate the coming months, I need to figure out how to have three things. One of them is how to have friends/mentors in my life. People that I could go to open up. You know, no one has everything figured out. Right? You know, and I think you would agree with me, Sheikh, no matter how old you grow, you need to be able to talk about your challenges and struggles with others, no matter how much knowledge you have. You know, there's no end point of growth. You know, if I stop having those types of conversations with other human beings, then that's where my demise begins. So that's one. The other thing is, the reason why I experience beauty when I'm around other believers is because I need that connection that'll continue to maintain my soul. If I don't nourish my soul, if I don't have that connection with the masjid, that connection with the remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jal, if I don't have that connection with salah, then how am I going to navigate the trials of life? If that's the case, when I deal with challenges, all I'm going to have is my emotions and the few people around me that are willing to listen to me. But you know, if I'm going to deal with it, I need Allah. I need the masjid. I need good friends. I need good mentors. You know, these are the foundational things that protect us from very, very bad situations that may arise in our lives. And there's a lot more detail to say beyond that. But if I was to give one advice, Sheikh, for this coming school year, it is figure out how to continue to have a plan to maintain our souls. Like, I need to. Whether it's the friends, the masjid, the remembrance of Allah, I need to have a plan in place. Because what happens during the school year is I get a ton of information. If you were to even look at the numbers, just look at the numbers with me. How many days a week do kids go to school? 5 days a week, right? In those 5 days, approximately how many hours do they spend in the day at school? Let's say 7. 7 hours times 5. 7 times 5 is what? 35 times 4 is what? 100 times 4 because of 4 weeks. You're talking about 140 hours at school in the month. In a school year, how many hours do they spend at school? Over 1,000 hours. Over 1,000 hours. Doing what? Becoming an information-driven human being. By the way, there's a very big difference between getting information and actually experiencing tarbiyah. There's a huge difference. So, and then that's just the time at school. When you add to that 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of homework, then it changes the way you look at the world, right? So there's a lot to say, but that's one advice I'd give.
Jazakallah khair. I think also cultivating a strong Islamic identity is paramount. So,
you need to figure this thing out, Sheikh.
Go ahead, sir.
Go ahead, talk.
Yeah, sorry, man. Sorry.
Go.
I think cultivating a strong Islamic identity is very paramount. It's very important to be proud to be a Muslim. I think because being proud to be a Muslim is what saves you at school. And I think this is a very important point for parents to understand. They have to be able to make their kids love Islam. And I think there's no way to do that without bringing your children to the masjid or being in programs or having Muslim friends and making Islam fun. Making Islam fun. And that's why the ICPC Youth Committee, they always emphasize going out and having outings and having basketball at the masjid. So you could think of going to, yeah. Bismillah, Bismillah. So you could think of, the masjid in a good light. Like if you're raised going to the youth committee programs, which is basketball and then food, and a small khatira, when you think of the masjid, you think of the basketball court. You don't think of salah and boring lecture. So I think that's a little lower. So I think that's a very important thing. And I think the youth camp, like Sheikh Osamah was mentioning, I was thinking about it. He said, Sheikh Osamah said this point that I didn't think of. He said that the child or the person in school should have a good Islamic person he looks up to / mentor. And that's very important. That's very important. And I thought about it myself when I was going to school. I had that. Like someone who I looked up to in Deen, who was a good person that I looked up to, and I could go to him when I was down. I think that's very important. And how do you receive that? I was just thinking, the youth camp. For example, you're at the girls' youth camp, there's girl counselors, they're looking after their cabins. Now those girls that were in those cabins, they're going to look up to their counselor, or they're going to look up to the sisters that were giving the talks or the lectures, and they could go to them for advice when they're down. So a community, having a sense of community is very important for a Muslim, for a believer, to cling on to Iman. Same thing with the boys. The youth camp is starting on Monday, inshallah, it's going to end on Friday. And I was thinking, the counselors are going to be very intimate with the kids there, and times are changing. In 2025, everyone's always on their phone, and Sheikh Osamah made this point of isolation. Wallahi, it's so true. Everyone wants to be by themselves and to themselves, and like every time I see certain people, they're on their phone, and they're in like a forum on the phone. Like there's a forum. It's some app, he's here, and there's like 30 other people. I go, who is that? He goes, oh, they're just my friends. I go, how do you know them? He goes, from this app. He doesn't even know them in real life. Like everything's phone. The gadget is always on you. I went to the UK to visit a couple of friends of mine that were in Azhar with me. And my friend was very excited to show me around the town that he was from. He goes, Sheikh Ismail, come look. This is the pitch we used to play on. We used to play football on this pitch. Football means soccer in their language. So he was showing me the pitch or the soccer field or the open field that he has in his village or in his town. And subhanAllah, it's like very different than America. It's like a bunch of houses. It's a bunch of townhouses everywhere, so many houses, and then there's a field. And when I was with him, it was like 70 degrees outside. It was like paradise outside. And there was not a single human on the pitch or the field. And he goes, yeah, when we were young, I used to live in this house, and my cousin was in this house, and my other cousin was in this house, and this guy was in that house. And we used to play all day, all night, and our parents used to drag us in the house at Maghrib, which is at 9 p.m. in the UK. And they used to force us in. He goes, now, there's no one ever here. Everyone's just at home on their video games. So it's good to leave your comfort zone. It's good to be around people. It's good to be a person who has social interaction skills. And it's good to know how to act. Parents should teach their children how to act in public settings. This is very important. How to act in the masjid. How to have some decent etiquette. How to have some decent respect for people older than you. How to have respect for someone older than you. How to get up when someone older than you walks in the room. Out of respect. I feel like respect is void now. And all of these things are taught in the masjid. Where else is it taught other than the masjid? That's why I think the masjid is very important to go. Like,
SubhanAllah, Sheikh, I think that based on my experience, and I think you'd agree with me, anyone who's ever taken this do-it-yourself artificial approach to becoming what we call religious, quote-unquote, always ends up having destructive approaches to the deen.
And destructive etiquette and destructive character.
Destructive etiquette, destructive everything in between. Islam is meant to be a learned tradition through human interaction. The companions, they learned from the Prophet ﷺ's presence. Every single generation, there's this inherited tradition from teacher to student. The idea of community is critical. It's absolutely essential. Like if I want to do myself a favor and protect myself from a whole lot of harm, a whole lot of misconception and misunderstandings, then a quick way to do that, as you're saying, Sheikh, is to have that element of human interaction with good people.
100%.
Just, as the hadith mentions, هم القوم لا يشقى بهم جليسهم. There are certain people, just by being in their presence, it saves you from shaqa. It saves you from awful decisions.
Yeah, I think of a beautiful story when it comes to etiquette and how to act. And Sheikh Osamah made a point as well. Our religion is taken from interaction. And this is the way the Prophet ﷺ sat with the Sahaba, interacting with them, sitting on the floor with them, halaqah style. We say we have a halaqah, youth halaqah. We sit in a circle. Now, youth halaqah, the guy giving the talk is here, and the kid's on the back wall on his phone. Come here, Habibi, sit in the front. I want to see your face, bro. Come sit here. Why are you in the back on your phone? You have to call him up. So the Prophet ﷺ taught his companions like this, and the companions taught the tabi'un like this, and it went down up until Azhar right now, until today. If you go to Masjid al-Azhar, or you go to Masjid al-Nabawi, or you go to any masjid that has an old school, classical, Islamic, traditional studying system, they're sitting on the floor, and the Shaykh is sitting with them. Talaqi. Because why? When you do that, what happens? Like, what happens when you do that? You learn the etiquette of the teacher. You learn how to act and interact. You learn how to, so there's a famous story with Malik ibn Anas. I love this story. Say, Imam Malik was the second of the four Imams of Ahlul Sunnah. He was the Imam of Dar al-Hijrah. His mother wanted him to study deen, and she wanted him to study hadith. So she gets him ready, and she puts nice perfume on him, and she puts a beautiful turban on him, imamah, and she gets him ready. And she sends him to Rabi'ah ibn Abdurrahman al-Sulami. She sends him to this famous scholar of his time called Rabi'at al-Ra'i. He was known as Rabi'ah of the opinion. So Imam Malik went and studied with him for a bit, and then he came back. I think it was like after 2 weeks of studying with him, and his mom asked him, my dear son, what did you learn from Rabi'ah? And he started telling his mom, I learned this and that and this, that. And she goes, no, you didn't learn nothing. She's like, I don't want to hear information from you. I don't want to hear info. I want to hear, I learned adab. I learned etiquette. She goes, please go back to Rabi'ah because you didn't learn nothing. Go learn, وَتَعَلَّمْ مِنْ أَدَبِهِ قَبْلَ عِلْمِهِ. And this quote is beautiful. Go back to Rabi'ah and go study and learn his etiquette, from his etiquette. Take from his etiquette before you take from his knowledge. And I think this point is void. Everyone wants to get rich quick, learn knowledge in 5 minutes. Everything quick. And every time a sheikh is giving a talk or lecture, you have some smart person here on ChatGPT. He goes, oh, Sheikh, ChatGPT said this though. What is that? Knowledge is not taken to ChatGPT. It's so inaccurate sometimes.
Sheikh, I think the sad and destructive thing is, it's very easy, and especially for our young people, whether you're going to college or going to high school or middle school or elementary, it's very easy to create a dual personality for yourself. You can, look the part while you're at the masjid or in front of your parents, and you could become a completely different human being when there isn't anyone around you to hold you accountable. And it's a very scary thing, wallahi. There are too many stories from our community, of parents who are completely unaware of the people that their children choose to become when they're at school. So, like whether it's I wear hijab in front of my parents and as soon as the car drives away, I take it off, or getting into a certain relationship, or taking certain substances. There are parents who only find out after their children get arrested, or la samahallah, overdose on something, or are under the influence of something. It's a very tragic thing. And I think that one of the things we learn, Sheikh, from the story of Luqman, this beautiful story between Luqman and his son. Sayyidina Luqman alayhi salam wasn't a prophet, according to most scholars. He was a very righteous man. But Allah teaches us through his story and his conversation with his son, teaching his son priorities. These things are nurtured, as you're saying.
Absolutely.
It doesn't happen just like that. Bad decision making is a culmination of lifestyle choices that start from a very young age. And become very difficult to change when the person's in their teens. The story that we learn from Sayyidina Luqman is teaching his son priorities. The very first thing that he tells his son, Ya bunayya la tushrik billah, teaching our children about Allah. Again, as the school year is coming in, we're not just talking to the kids, we're talking to the parents too. If I choose to be the money bank for my children, and I'm like in my own world, earning a lot of money, but I have no relationship when it comes to having conversations with my kids about Allah, well then guess what? As soon as they get a bank that's better than mine, I'm going to become completely irrelevant to them. And wallahi, there are stories, tragic stories in our community that are like that. Parents who broke their backs trying to get their kids into the best colleges, the nicest cars, the biggest weddings, and then when their children became completely independent, they turned their backs on their parents. We need to invest in our children's souls.
So I wanted to make this a bit personal because Sheikh Osamah, he actually went to Clifton High School here. I wanted to ask you, Sheikh Osamah, because Clifton High School it's intimidating. It's a big school with a lot of people. What was it that helped or aided you get through the difficulties of high school? Clifton High School, the mosh pit. Difficulty.
What did you call it?
The mosh pit. I met a brother one time actually from Clifton. He was a graduate from Clifton. He's now a grown man with kids before Sheikh. He goes to me, I went to Clifton High, and I know, and we were talking about people we knew as mutual friends, and I mentioned someone, and he jumped out of his seat, this grown man with kids. He jumped out of his seat. He goes, that guy? Wallahi, he doesn't know this, but I'm going to tell you something about this guy. I go on. He goes, I used to always see him in ICPC Patterson in the masjid, always. Because they both used to go to the masjid. And he said, and then I'd see him in Clifton High School. And he goes, you don't know how much I love this guy. Every time I see him in Clifton High School, my iman would go up. I would look at him to receive like solace in my heart. And he said, I'd go through the mosh pit and I'd see him making dhikr. I was like, Allahu Akbar. This is what you need in your life. You need a pious friend, someone that you know from the masjid. That's why when we go ICPC camp, have fun, lake, swimming, basketball, that's all good. But the point of all of that is to make a friend. So when you go to Clifton High School, you meet that friend from the camp and he tells you, yo, that's haram. Don't talk to her, that's haram. Don't do this, that's haram. Fear God. So I wanted to ask you, what were things that helped you?
Jazakallah khair for the question. I don't know why they call it that, but anyway, I think that, I think that, look, every one of us has their journey. It's a big challenge. And I think sometimes, you never know how it works. Going to public school could make some people and it could break others. It's a challenge. And by the way, Islamic school is no guarantee of being protected from haram too. There's a lot of, things that happen in our Islamic schools that are very unfortunate. Just going to an Islamic school doesn't mean that you're protected. But I guess for me, when I was in school, it was around September 11, and my name is Osamah. So I guess it put me on my heels. It pushed me. It really pushed me to because there's a lot of challenges I had to deal with. Even from the teachers, by the way. So sometimes challenges are good. Again, sometimes challenges make you shine. We should all aspire to be those people who shine under challenges. May Allah help us. It's not easy, wallahi. It's not easy. But even.
So what aided and guided you, or what was the staff of Moses for you in Clifton High School?
Let's not make this an interview, man.
No.
I'll share a few things.
Pious friends? Was it Quran? Was it pious friends? Was it Salah in the masjid every day? That's what I want to know.
Well, for me, my safe haven was the masjid.
Nice.
Safe haven was the masjid, the journey in memorizing Quran. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed me with certain individuals in my life that pushed me to memorizing the Quran.
Nice.
And that's what I did in the beginning of my teens. And
so you were busy with that in high school?
Yeah, no, but at school, it was an immense challenge. It was an immense challenge, whether it was from other Muslims at school or from the non-Muslims at school. You know, at that time, you know, again, like I said, September 11th, your name's Osamah. Even my own teachers were like, well, why would your parents name you that? You know, who would they name you after? And again, and then, you know, again, it leads to a situation. Again, I'm saying this because most of our kids, by the way, in our community attend public schools. So who are you going to be when you go back to school? Are you going to be a person who tries to bury your identity? If your name's Muhammad, you become Mo. You know, there was this. There was people pressuring me. Alhamdulillah, I didn't fall for it, but people pressuring me because my name's Osamah. Why don't you just tell them your name's Sam? Just try to, you know, try to hide your identity. You know, and at that time it wasn't common, you know, to pray in public yet. You know, it wasn't something that people embraced. It's a little different now. But again, there's unique challenges for each time period. You know, so what am I going to do when I go back to school? Am I going to do something? Am I going to make choices just to appease my friends? I want to look cool. I don't want to look like I'm weird. You know,
this is exactly it. He said, to make choices just to appease our friends. This is what you have to break out of. This is everything. You have to have something called sincere faith in your heart. Because you'll never be able to break out of this peer pressure and appeasing your friends until you have something called sincere faith in your heart. And sincere faith in your heart is not just going to the masjid because you're forced to go. You have to have the love of Islam in your heart. And I asked him this question because I wanted to hear from him how he got through high school and navigated high school. Clifton High School is difficult. It's right here. It's on the street. So many people go there.
No. I'm
saying no. So he gave the right answer. He said he was going to the masjid. He was memorizing Quran. He was busy with something good. He had a dosage of the mosque in his life. And this is where it's at. This is what I'm trying to say. You have to have a community that aids you. So you have to cultivate proper iman in your heart, and that's loving Islam sincerely. Because if you love Islam sincerely and you love God sincerely, you don't want to displease Allah. You want to be in the boundaries of God. You want to please Allah. Because when you go to high school and everyone's doing something to act cool, you're going to want to do it to act cool too. No, you have to be confident enough to not want that. And you receive that from loving your religion, from understanding your religion and loving it. And I think that has to be cultivated. And like I said, that comes from a sincere love for Islam in your heart that you have to get somehow. You have to receive it somehow. And if you're a parent trying to raise your child, you have to possibly maybe find a fine line where you can make them love Islam without making them feel burdened by Islam. And Islam is not a burden. Islam doesn't come to burden you. Islam doesn't come to burden you with salah. It comes to protect you with salah. Islam doesn't come to burden you. You shouldn't feel Islam as a burden. You have someone, he says, everything is haram, Shaykh, man. And I'm thinking to myself, what? Everything's halal. Chicken is halal. It's amazing. You know, steak is halal, it's amazing. Fruits are amazing. Everything is what is haram? Khanzir? One thing? Like what's haram? Wine, alcohol, everyone, they drink and they throw up and they feel like misery and garbage. No, everything is halal. You know, change perspective, you know? You don't have to smoke a vape to be cool. You not smoking a vape is cool because everyone is doing it. They're not cool. The oddball is the cool one. The one who stands out is cool. I remember giving my little brother advice. My brother's 10 years younger than me. I remember I told him this because he was young and he was growing up public school. He lived with my mother in like a state that was all just non-Muslims. I was like, Mahmoud, it is not cool. You're not cool. Sorry for saying his name. You're not cool by following them. Like you're not cool by you be a leader, bro. You're a Muslim. No, you're a Muslim. You're a lion. You're a Muslim. The Muslim is strong with iman. The Muslim is strong. You be a leader. You do what is right. And he became the most popular kid. I'm not saying this to become popular, but when you have boundaries and you stand up for something, people respect you.
Sheikh, I want to, just to your point, I want to take us back to Sayyidina Luqman.
Yeah, please.
You know, again, to this, I think one of the biggest gifts a parent could give their son or daughter is feeling Allah's presence. In public and in private. There's this extremely beautiful verse in the dialogue between Sayyidina Luqman and his son. Ya bunayya, إنها إن تكن مثقال حبة من خردل فتكن في صخرة أو في السماوات أو في الأرض يأتي بها الله.
Wow.
You know, he tells his son, hey, look, oh dear son, if it's as the size of a mustard seed, and it's in the land or in the sea, or at the bottom of a rock, أو في السماوات أو في الأرض, in the heavens or in the earth, Allah will bring it forth. You can't hide anything from Allah. You know, so, you know, and there's a beautiful hadith. The Prophet ﷺ tells us, you know, whoever seeks the pleasure of people by angering Allah, Allah Azza wa Jal will be angry with him and He will make people disapproving of him, right? من طلب رضا الله من طلب رضا الناس في سخط الله عز وجل سخط الله عليه وأسخط عليه الناس.
Yes.
You know, so that temporary approval that I gain from people, it doesn't last.
It's fake. It's fake.
It's
fake.
absolutely fake. So
It's
why
fake.
am I making the choices I'm going to make? I need to be very careful.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know when you try to appease people, peer pressure, and you want to do stuff to act cool to them, and your parents are upset with you and this, that, you don't feel good, you feel tainted. And you know, wallahi, in the future, when you live life and you gain something called life experience and age, you look back at yourself and wallahi, you cringe at high school. You cringe. You said, oh, I did all that stuff that was so wrong. I wish I didn't. You cringe looking at yourself. And I think you don't have to go and gain old age to do that. Think of yourself now. How do you feel? And I like this a lot. How do you feel when you do something impermissible? You feel tainted. You don't feel good. You feel weak. You feel good when you obey God. Like obeying God feels great. Praying salah feels great. Coming to the masjid feels great. Doing things that are good feel great. And doing things that are displeasing to Allah, they don't feel great. They grant you insecurity.
Extremely temporary
Yes.
satisfaction.
You know,
extremely temporary.
I had a friend I was speaking to, and he was opening up to me, and he was like saying, every single time, Sheikh, his conclusion was, he's like, every single time I did something haram to get haram or to gain haram or haram relationship, Allah adallani Allah. Oh, I was like, oh my God. He's like, every single time I did something or I had a haram relationship, God disgraced me. God humiliated me. God embarrassed me. And he said, looking back at my life, every time I didn't do haram or I didn't give in to haram, he said, Wallahi, Allah rafa'ani. And this is Islam.
Sheikh, look, there's two verses to this point.
Yeah.
أَفَمَنْ زُيِّنَ لَهُ سُوءُ عَمَلِهِ فَرَآهُ حَسَنًا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يُضِلُّ مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Do you see the person who his actions have been beautified to him and he sees the wicked things he does as beautiful? And the other thing, وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَ تَاللَّهِ لَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمَمٍ مِّن قَبْلِكَ فَزَيَّنَ لَهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ أَعْمَالَهُم. The shaitan beautified to them their actions. Temporary satisfaction.
Yeah.
As soon as you know the facade goes away, nothing remains except regret. And then all those friends that were cheering for you or standing by your side, they all abandoned because that's not a suhbah, that's not a companionship that was initiated for goodness.
Correct. زين للذين كفروا الحياة الدنيا ويسخرون من الذين آمنوا والذين اتقوا فوقهم يوم القيامة. I love this ayah a lot as well. God, he said, he decorates to the disbeliever, the person with no iman, the person with no belief. The hayat dunya temptations, following your hawa, being a person who just gives into peer pressure, someone that has no backbone. Their actions are beautified to them and they make fun of those who believe. They make fun and they poke fun at and they bully the believing person. وَالَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا فَوْقَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. And Allah comes to tell us something like, how do you think with perspective as a mu'min? He goes, and the believing person, the person of taqwa, the person that lives with God in his life, having taqwa means you are a person of God, you live with God, you're a good Muslim. فَوْقَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. On Yawm al-Qiyamah, they're going to be laughing at them. On Yawm al-Qiyamah, you're going to be the person of victory. On Yawm al-Qiyamah, you're going to be upright and good and standing good firmly. You're going to be looking at that person that made fun of you or that person that wanted to drag you down. But like I said, every time you do something that's displeasing to God, like vaping or haram or looking at haram or haram relationship or talking to someone you can't be talking to, anything you do displeasing, it inherits dhil and inkisar. It grants you insecurity, embarrassment, humiliation. And every time you do something that's pleasing to God and holding a boundary of Allah, it grants you rif'ah, it grants you a raising of your ranks and honor. And the Muslim is honorable because he is in the boundaries of God. I just wanted to say this, you know. You have to love Islam. Nuh alayhi salam was a prophet and messenger of God, and he loved God. And God commanded him to construct an ark in the middle of a desert. There's no river and there's no ocean near him. And this is after 950 years of calling his people patiently, 950 years. Yeah, وَمَا آمَنَ مَعْهُ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. And Allah says, and only a small amount of people believed in Nuh alayhi salam. وَيَصْنَعُ الْفُلْكَ وَكُلَّمَا مَرَّ عَلَيْهِ مَلَأٌ مِّن قَوْمِهِ سَخِرُوا مِنْهُ. And he begins to construct this ark. And I love this story because it grants us confidence to believe. And he began to construct the ark after God commanded him to construct the ark. And every single time a group of people from his people pass by him, سَخِرُوا مِنْهُ. They make fun of him. They poke fun at him. You think about high school. Put it here, copy paste. You get made fun of for standing up and for being a good person. You get made fun of for making wudu. You get made fun of for praying. You get made fun of for wearing hijab, like from upholding an obligation, for being a normal person, for being pure, for being a good person. You get made fun of for not having a girlfriend. You get made fun of for not doing haram. You get made fun of, قال إن تسخروا منا فإنا نسخر منكم كما تسخرون. He says, oh, you're making fun of us? Like you're making fun of me because I worship God and I don't worship an idol that can't do anything? You make fun of me because I dress properly and I don't show my body. You make fun of me. He goes, "In تسخروا منا فإننا نسخر منكم كما تسخرون." No, you're gonna make fun of us. We make fun of you the same way you make fun of us. The Muslim, he has his head high. Being a good person is not a bad thing. Being a person who is respectful in society and respectful to his parents is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Don't ever let someone put you down because you're good to your mother. It's not cool to be bad to your mother. It's not cool. Like in society today, the more disrespectful you are, the cooler you are. This is an incorrect understanding. This is loser thinking. Saqit. The Muslim doesn't think like that. Being respectful is the most beautiful. No, being good to your parents is beautiful.
Powerful words.
Yeah.
Powerful words.
Yeah. No, really. Understand what is good and what is wrong. It's not good to be disrespectful.
So I guess now here the question is like, how do you build this capacity?
Yeah.
How do you build it? Like, all right, so this is taqwa, to be genuine and to be consistent in public and in private, when at school, when at home, when in the masjid.
Yes.
How do you build this capacity? I think a lot of things go into it. Like the first thing is, am I going to make the awful choice of cutting myself off from Allah? How do you cut yourself off from Allah? If I don't pray, I learned from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that salah is amud ad-din.
Yes.
It is the pillar of the religion. There's no portion in Islam for someone who abandons salah. That's one factor that goes into it. There's a lot of things that go into building taqwa. It starts with the salah. It starts with kindling a sense of spirituality in our lives. Because hey, look, if I don't focus on my heart, if I commit sinful behaviors, I'm going to lose hayat. And when I lose hayat, this brother wanted me to talk about dress code in Islam. And he saw this crazy thing and it traumatized him. He saw a sister wearing hijab with short sleeves. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I don't get it. She's wearing short sleeves, but she's covering her hair. Like, how does that make any sense, right? So but what's the crux of the issue? What's the real problem? The Prophet ﷺ says, إِذَا لَمْ تَسْتَحِي فَاصْنَعْ مَا شِئْتَ. If you have no shame, do as you may. If you have no shame, you're going to yell at your parents. If you have no shame, you're going to oppress human beings.
Yes.
If you have no shame, you will think that you'll get away with it just because no one else saw you doing it.
Yes.
But you won't realize that Allah saw you, right?
So cultivating iman in order to gain that shield and that strength to stay away from the wrong. And by praying salah and I think Shaykh Osamah, when he said that he had a connection to the masjid and that's what helped him get through high school, that's the answer for me as well. That's what helped me get through high school as well. Having a steady connection to the masjid. And the girls will say, but we don't go to the masjid as much. We say, so have a good, pious friend that you keep in touch with. Have pious friends that you go out with. Come to the Friday forum as well. The Friday forum is the masjid, Friday night, We should look forward. Honestly, you have to look forward to the masjid. And like I said, you have to make the masjid beloved to your heart. And it's okay if you love coming to the masjid. It's okay if you love coming to the masjid because your friends are there. Because you have someone who says, but I like going to the masjid, Sheikh, because my friend. No problem, bro. Whatever brings you into the hospital is good for you. Like, this is the hospital of your heart. We need CPR on our heart, especially during the school year. When it gets gloomy outside, you need to revive the iman of your heart with Islamic spiritual CPR. You really need it. And that's coming to the mosque. Come to the masjid and sit in the masjid for 10 minutes. Wallahi, you feel amazing. You come pray a salah in the masjid. You exit the masjid having a dosage. I say this for the men. And if the girl could do it, good for her. That's as good as well. You should have a dosage of the masjid. I give this sincere nasihat to every man that can come to the masjid. You should have at least one daily dosage of the mosque in your life. Look, if you call the mosque vitamin M, vitamin masjid, you have to have 1,000 milligrams minimum. That's one salah. You have to have it. I tell them all the time, you can't come to Fajr, no problem, Habibi. You can't come to Isha, no problem, Habibi. Come Asr, Dhuhr, Maghrib. Come to the mosque once in your life. You come to the masjid once in the day. Once every day. You have to. Look, we're in New Jersey now. Patterson, Clifton, New Jersey, mashallah, man. Wallahi, mashallah.
Are you going to Are you going to trademark that? Vitamin M? No. Is there already a vitamin M? Munir, your doctor. There's no vitamin M, right?
That's why I said it. No, honestly, man, Patterson, New Jersey, they have adhan outside, brother. Almost everyone can walk to a mosque now. Forget driving. Almost everyone. There's masajid everywhere, man. Look up mosque on Google. We only know mosque ICPC because we love ICPC. No, look up mosque, brother. Mosque everywhere. Like, you don't have to come here. Come any masjid. You have to enter a mosque. You're a man. You have to enter a mosque at least once a day. And this is ad'af al-iman. Like, I'm just saying this to be easy because people say work, school, family. I get it. Once a day, brother. Once. Addi. Hatta you have work. You work on Mutri and Sea Caucus. You're going back home to Woodland Park. You're passing ICPC Clifton. You're passing this holy sanctuary of ICPC Clifton. Come, stop, park here. Walk in. Even if it's not time for salah, come and pray. Come sit in the masjid. You have to have a dosage of the masjid once a day. Minimum. This is to keep iman. To keep your heart alive.
Once a week is the weakest. Jum'ah is the weakest.
Sheikh, I think alongside the masjid, sometimes it's just what we go through in our life. No one should think this is going to be easy, by the way.
Absolutely.
We're going into a new year. Again, even if for the people who are in the workforce, this is not easy, by the way. There's tons of challenges.
Yeah.
And, there's a word for the trials in Arabic, fitna,
Yes,
right?
yes.
When you say fatanta dhahab, what does that mean? That means you purified it, right? So sometimes the experience, and I believe, for me, going to school, public school when I was younger, that was part of the process. It was a burning thing. It was so difficult. It's not easy to make the right choices, and that's okay. And sometimes you'll make the wrong ones. But how can I make sure that my wrong choices don't end up leading down this very wrongful path? Again, we're talking about the workforce, put school students aside. You have having non-Muslim friends, end up going to the lunches that have alcohol in them, the parties, and those types of that type of culture, that reality that drags you far away from the remembrance of Allah.
Yeah.
It's difficult. It's really tough.
Yes. Like Shaykh Osamah said, it's a constant struggle. And I like this point a lot. That's why Allah, when He mentions Jannah is the gift of the mu'min, He says, وَنِعْمَ أَجْرُ الْعَامِلِينَ. He always ends off the ayahs of Jannah to remind you how you got it. And what a great reward Jannah is for the one who worked for it. And if Allah mentions another ayah of Jannah, He says, نِعْمَ الثَّوَابُ وَحَسُنَتْ مُرْتَفَقًا. What a great reward, نِعْمَ الثَّوَابُ. What an amazing gift Jannah is. وَحَسُنَتْ مُرْتَفَقًا. And what a beautiful place it is to rest and relax, Jannah is. Who? For the one who أحسن عملا. إِنَّا لَا نُضِيعُ أَجْرَ مَنْ أَحْسَنَ عَمَلًا. For the one who perfected an act, for the one who was consistent. It's not easy, it's difficult. But Allah makes the difficult easy for the one who's sincere. Allah facilitates the difficult and makes it easy for the one who wants it, and for the one who wants good, and for the one who wants Allah. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم يصلح لكم أعمالكم. Allahu Akbar. Oh, you have believed, fear Allah and say an upright word. Be sincere. Be sincere and speak sincerity. Speak the truth. What does God grant you? What does Allah give you? What's the gift God gives you if you're a true person of taqwa and you speak good and goodness comes out of your mouth? What happens? يُصْلِحْ لَكُمْ أَعْمَالَكُمْ. Allah rectifies your affairs for you, meaning that Allah grants you the ability to do good, facilitation of doing good. Because if you're praying salah and if you're making dua, wallahi, this is tawfiq from Allah. This is God granting goodness to you. If you have a pious friend, this is tawfiq from Allah. If you have the masjid in your life or Quran in your life, this is rizq. The ibadat or rizq from Allah. Allah is granting you goodness. Why? Because you're sincere and you're truthful in your heart and you speak the truth. And what I'm saying is, like Shaykh Osamah said, it's difficult. Yes, it's a daily struggle. And Allah makes the difficult easy for you if you're sincere and if you really want it. That's why you have some people, they can't miss Fajr. You have some people that can't, it's impossible. He doesn't miss Fajr. If he misses Fajr, we are calling that brother to make sure he's alive. He doesn't miss Fajr. How is that easy to make Fajr every day in the masjid? It's easy. Wallahi, it's not easy. But it's easy for him. Is it easy for him? Allah made it easy for him. It's a daily struggle. To be a mu'min, iman is a struggle. It's a kanz, it's a treasure. You have to hold on to it. Going to school is just one example of fitan. We have fitan everywhere. Fitan in the workplace, like he said, like going out to lunch. Fitan in school is a lot. We get it. Because a pure person is that. You be a strong person. You love your deen. You have a connection, some sort of connection to the masjid, or some sort of connection to good people, and Allah will grant you the facilitation to be good and have good, and always look up to people who are better than you in religion. This is the last thing I want to say. Look up to the person who's better than you in religion, and look, and when it comes to dunya and money and whatever, look at the person who has less than you, and you'll always be happy, because there's always someone that has less than you. In America, I think we're the 1%, we're the 1% of the favorite people in the world. Think of people who have less than you in dunya, but always aspire to be better in deen. You have someone, he's like, no, alhamdulillah, shaykh, I go to Jum'ah. What is Jum'ah? Jum'ah is once a week? Jum'ah is once a week, you're proud of yourself? You should be going much more than that. Always look at someone who's better than you. You have, one surah memorized, look at someone who has 5 surahs memorized. Always look at someone who's doing better than you, and it will motivate you to do good, and it will push you to do good, Sheikh,
let's get some questions in the mix. Yeah. So here's one question that we got here. What is a good mentor? What should I look for? I'll share a few things. I think obviously, when we're talking about mentors, they should be someone who has some level of Islamic knowledge. They don't need to be scholars or alamat al-dunya, but they need to have some level of authentic knowledge and understanding. Because then if I see them as a mentor and they're very ignorant, then they're going to give me all the wrong advice. So that's one thing I would look for in a mentor. Another thing to look for in a mentor, and this is something I benefited from, is look for life experience too. Alongside knowledge. Knowledge is one thing, but another thing is life experience. If you have the opportunity to be in the presence of someone who is far older than you, don't miss out on this opportunity. I know young people don't like to listen to this, but if you have your parents, if you have your parents around, and you could learn from their life experience, don't turn away from it. Our parents have been through a lot of stuff. They've seen a lot of people, a lot of different scenarios. If you're able to benefit from someone else's life experience, it'll save you from a lot of problems in your own personal life. And I tell you, especially every young person here, I tell you on the other side, from someone who does counseling and sits with a lot of people, and here's their stories. Anyone who shuts out good advice when it comes their way and doesn't want to listen to anybody ends up stumbling a whole lot in their lives. So what should I look for in my mentor? Knowledge, life experience. And what else? I should look for a balance, a prophetic balance. I should look for someone who lives the part. Their emotional state is intact. They're not someone who has a crazy imbalance when it comes to the expression of their emotions, whether anger or sadness or whatever. That's not who our Prophet ﷺ was. Best example is to look for someone who was closest to the prophetic example in their character and in their emotions.
Yeah. No, absolutely, I agree. I agree with everything you said, and I would say, I would add, but for someone that you feel that wants good for you, and it's not a yes person to you. You don't want to have a mentor that just tells you what you want to hear all the time and just, makes you feel good. You want someone that's going to be real with you. And if you do good, let you know you're doing good. And if you're doing bad, to check you. So like Sheikh Osamah said, having someone of piety, someone with wisdom, and someone that wants good for you.
Jazakallah khair. Here's another question. This one's for you, Sheikh Ismail. What if your kids don't have a personal drive for religion in high school? They don't want to go to the masjid by themselves. Should you force them to go? What do you think?
Yeah, I think there has to be some aspect of forcing them to go, but the word forcing makes it sound like it's like really like going with them. I think you have to be proactive, and lead by example. This is what I would say, but I don't have kids. Maybe Sheikh Osamah could answer the question with the kids. But I would say to be the people that I see that have children that it's working out is the father. The father is in the masjid, always going to the masjid. So when the kid comes with him, it's natural because he knows daddy's in the mosque all the time. He knows that Baba goes to the masjid. So taking your kid to the mosque is not taking your kid to the mosque, pulling up to the masjid, throwing him in the mosque for babysitting and then leaving. Because I see that a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, I think, Jazakallah khair, I think force is this this term, this vague term.
Yeah.
Like, what does it mean to force? For some people, force is taking out the belt or, taking off your shoe, and if you don't get in the car right now. For other people, force might mean all right, you're pressuring them. But look, I don't think force in its extreme form should be used. That should be like a last resort. I think pressuring them to go to the masjid in creative ways, like incentivizing them, not necessarily giving in as soon as they complain. Because there's this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he says, "Ajiba rabbuka min qawmin yadkhuluna al-jannata bis-salasil." Allah Azza wa Jalla is pleased with the people who will enter Jannah with chains. Who are these people that enter Jannah with chains? These are people who fought against Islam. And they were imprisoned. This is the Prophet ﷺ telling us about his life. They were imprisoned, and when they were imprisoned, through their imprisonment, they got exposed to Islam. They saw the beauty of the religion, and they embraced it. They saw its beauty, and because of that, they loved it. So now, I'm not telling you to imprison your kids or anything like that, but sometimes our children don't know what's best for them. Not sometimes, many times they don't know what's best for them. I need to try to be creative. If I can incentivize them and it works, great. Hey, if they're going to cry a little bit, then you know what? Maybe I should not just give in very quickly. I should figure out ways. Maybe the problem is I don't have conversations with them. And hey, look, if I could find a way, another way, sometimes for some kids, what works is if they find friendship through the masjid. That's a big blessing.
Yes.
If Allah Azza wa Jal blesses your son or your daughter with someone else who likes to go to the masjid, and that makes them want to go to that's a blessing.
Yes, and incentivizing your child, making, like we said it earlier in the talk, I think the question was answered by making your kid want to go to the mosque, and like we said, for something other than what the mosque is, because that's just a trick to get him there. Like, oh, you don't want to go play basketball? They have basketball courts in the back of ICPC. Let's go. And then he's in the mosque, and then he meets someone, and he becomes really good friends with this guy, so he's happy to go. Yes.
I'll give an opportunity if anyone wants to share a direct comment or question. Anyone here wants to say something, comment or question? We have other questions that are coming in, but if anyone wants to say something, feel free. Go ahead. Go ahead. I get it. Yeah. So our brother is sharing creative ways. One of these creative ways is to try to, encourage people through kind words. Use constructive approaches instead of destructive approaches to make them want to love Allah and want to love the masjid. And of course, this is all from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ.
I was thinking the same thing.
The Prophet ﷺ was always constructive when he communicated with others. The Prophet ﷺ would not destroy people. The Prophet ﷺ would uplift people. In fact, one of the fundamental features of nifaq is that they bring people down. لو خرجوا فيكم, what does the Quran say? ما زادوكم إلا خبالا. The hypocrites, they bring people down, and they make people hate Allah, and they make people hate deen. They make people, feel like they can't do it. So that's Jazakallah khair, Barakallah feek. Here's another question here. What do you think about this one, Sheikh Ismail? How do I approach the conversation of a friend getting in a haram relationship and pushing better habits? So, what would you say to that?
How do you talk them out of it, Ani?
Yeah, how do I talk to a friend who I know is in a haram relationship, and how do I approach this conversation?
I would emphasize the fact that it's haram and haram equals Jahannam and Jahannam is real. I would do that. No, really. No. I'm reminding someone of the reality of what. No.
يعني على طول جهنم كده.
Yeah, if it's haram, it's Jahannam. Haram equals something. What does haram mean in Islam? What is, haram equals something. Haram equals bad deeds on your scale, and bad deeds equals Jahannam. Jahannam equals fire. It hurts. It's not nice. We don't want Jahannam. We want Jannah. No, it's a deterrent. I think Islam comes with deterrence for a reason, because زُيِّنَ لَهُ سُوءُ عَمَلِهِ, because this person sees this haram relationship as good. And how could haram ever be good? Like the believer with understanding, he'll understand that, but this person is losing that because the shaitan beautified this haramness to him. He's stuck in it. So I think being reminded of this being haram is a good thing. But I also, me personally, I would like to say be very nice to everyone. Like I always say this, because being kind and gentle and nice brings people to you. Brings people to you, to the masjid, brings people to goodness. Being mean, annoying, and judgmental pushes them away. So if you're mean to your friend that's in a haram relationship and annoying about it, they're not gonna tell you anything and continue their haram relationship. Then you're gonna be they're gonna ghost you, so you're not gonna know what's going on. But if you're easily approachable, but you're also a person of boundaries and dignity, the person sees that and they'll constantly open up to you. So I say to keep the line going and to let them know it's haram and to let them know that Allah will grant you better if you leave it. But yeah.
Yeah, look, Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Ismail. I would add this, look, your response needs to be adequate or proportionate, I should say, to what is being done, or the level of intensity of what this person is doing. And this is part of the hikmah. If I could possibly resolve an issue without bringing out a hammer and hitting on the person on the top of the head, then it's probably a better way to do it. If I'm able to win over the person with kind methods, with love, with compassion, especially if they're not doing kaba'ir al-ithim. There's a big difference when someone is just starting down a path that was going to drag them into, and then someone who's doing the most major sins in Islam. There is a situation where you need to sometimes be tough with people. The prophets, one of their descriptions is they were nasih. They were nasihin. They were nasihun amin, as the Quran says in many situations. Inni lakum lamina nasihin, right? So, and what does it mean to be nasih? Don't tell me overweight. It's nasih means advisor, right? Nasih means to be an advisor, right? And sometimes when you're an advisor to people, you will not be liked. It comes with the part. If you're going to be genuine, you're going to be straightforward. Sometimes you're going to be forced to say things that your friend might not want to hear. But again, make it proportionate. Don't put 100% if 50% will help resolve the. Don't take it to the highest level of intensity if something less than that will help perhaps lessen or decrease or remove whatever they're doing.
Yeah, I agree.
Allahu alam.
So no to haram relationships. It's called haram relationship because it's haram. It's not a good thing. If you have one, you should really leave it. You should leave it. Allah will grant you better. And if that person is meant for you, you get them in a halal way. Usually they're not meant for you, and you move on.
All right, so here's another question.
Here's the questions. So.
Oh, who's? You have a question, sister? Go ahead. Alaikum salam. So just to repeat the questions, the first one is, how do you continue to have your spiritual growth or spiritual connection while you're going every single day to work, you're in the workforce, there's a lot of distractions. So how do you continue to refresh and renew your niyyah? That's one question. And the other question was, how do you create certain boundaries, especially when it comes to issues of gender, when it relates to your work? Would you like to start, Sheikh?
Hold on.
All right, so I guess for starters, I would say, look, one of the beautiful things is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made many different ways to worship Him. There's not one way to worship Allah, and there's not one place to worship Allah in. That's one of the beautiful things about Islam. So, as long as my mind functions and my tongue can move, then there's something I could do at every single time. I just need to figure out how to have the willpower to capitalize on it, even when I'm at work, when I'm going to work, adhkar al-sabah, if I'm going back towards Maghrib time, adhkar al-masa. When I'm at work, how do I maintain a state of dhikr? How do I make proper use of my break times in a way that is, it helps give me that spiritual refresh? Am I going to be someone who misses their prayers because of work? Am I going to be someone who is too embarrassed to pray at work? There are people who are like that. I'm too embarrassed to pray. I don't want what is my boss going to say? What are my coworkers going to say if I do this? I don't, no. Or am I going to be very serious or committed in my deen? So I think these are all, and then about the boundaries, look, Allah Azza wa Jal, as the Prophet ﷺ says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ فَرَضَ فَرَائِضَ فَلَا تَتْرُكُوهَا. That Allah Azza wa Jal has made certain things mandatory, don't abandon them. وَحَدَّ حُدُودًا فَلَا تَعْتَدُوهَا. And Allah set boundaries, don't cross those boundaries. So how do I set those boundaries? I need to be very committed. What is halal is halal, and what is haram is haram. If people will not like that, then I will not give precedence to their likes and wants over what pleases Allah. If I'm in a situation where, people are used to shaking hands or hugging or whatever, or going out for lunch or here and there and joking with, I'm not going to do that when it comes to the opposite gender. I'm going to make Allah's love and Allah's pleasure number one. Wallahu a'lam. That's it? Yeah, okay. Does anyone else have questions that they'd like to ask before we conclude? I believe Salah today is in 3 minutes, right? Yes. Any concluding question? Fadal.
Okay, so
my background is a public school teacher for 20 years,
wow.
including 3 years here in Clifton. And the reason, by the way, they call it the mosh pit is there a crossroad, right, between two different crowds, and everybody moshes together, which, a lot of boys bumping into girls. Anyway, the point I wanted to make is, I think there's a little tension between what you guys said and the reality that we're dealing with. So, Sheikh Osamah, you said that people are going to school and they're just informational, but you need adab. Sheikh Ismail, you also said, adab is incredibly important. One student of knowledge went to study with a teacher, and he came back with knowledge your children in public school, right? So I know that's not an option for everyone. Homeschooling may be an option for some people, Islamic school an option for other people, but the fact that the acculturation in public schools is extremely severe. Sheikh Ismail, you said you have to be proud to be a Muslim, hold your head up high. That is good. There are strong Muslims who can do that, and there are weak Muslims who can do that. The sheep of the community that can go astray, they don't feel as confident praying in front of others, challenging norms, shaking hands, and doing all the things that everyone else does because they don't feel strong enough. And I feel like these are the weakest people in our communities, and putting them in this environment, in a public school where there's a lot of pressure on them to conform to an adab that is alien to Islam and Muslims, I feel like this is extremely problematic, and the community together should try and have a resolution for this. It's a very tough question. It's a lot of broader discussions, but I feel like this is the elephant in the room that our community should take seriously.
Beautiful. Jazakallah khair. Allah yahfadhkum ya Rabb. I'll give you a summary, especially for those who are following along. Anyone who couldn't hear, our dear brother has 20 plus years experience in the public schools. And I, to be honest with you, I wholeheartedly agree with you. Besides the information that they get at school, our brother said what happens at school is acculturation. They're getting indoctrinated into cultural understandings, outlooks and perspectives, right? That's what you're saying? And it's behaviors, manners, and to be honest, it shapes your personality. It's extremely difficult. To be honest, it needs a full Friday forum. Maybe I'll have you up here with me for that one, inshallah. But it's really tough. And I'll tell you this. I shared my experience in public school. I'll tell you, most people, as you said, cannot shine in those difficult realities. It's really not a solution. It's an unfortunate reality where most of our community ends up having to have their children exposed to things that they should have never been exposed to. If you have a young child that's 4, 5, 6 years old and they start hearing about Halloween, Christmas, and birthdays and all the things in between, and they get excited about these things because everyone around them is excited about it, you end up having to push against this tide to win over your kids. And you're talking about an innocent 5-year-old who's exposed to realities. Of course they're going to want to do what everyone else is going to do because, they don't understand about the world enough to be able to combat all these things. So it's extremely difficult. Wallahi, and to be honest, I'm saddened that the reality for our community is, after all the decades that we've been here, we haven't reached a community solution where there could be an alternative for the children growing up in our community, because most of the ones who could afford to go to Islamic school are the ones who are, well off. Just to say that if you have one child, maybe you can make it work. 2, you're going to have to take a huge financial blow. If you have 3 or 4 or 5 kids and putting them in Islamic school, you need to be extremely well established financially. And it's unfortunate that our community needs to do better than that. With all the money that we're able to fundraise, we need to reach to the point where everyone should be able to access this alternative. And Jazakallah khair for sharing these words. Inshallah, it's another Friday forum that we're going to have. Allah barik fikum. Sorry, time's run out because I don't want to delay the Salat al-Isha more. So inshallah, we'll stop here. And inshallah, look forward to seeing you guys next week for the Friday forum. Barakallah.